My wife casually said, "I think once a month is enough," when I asked for intimacy. No emotion, like she was discussing laundry. That's when something inside me cracked and I started my quiet revenge. I can tell you the exact moment our marriage died. It wasn't a fight or dramatic confrontation. It was a Tuesday evening around. The dishes were done, the house was quiet, and Lisa was scrolling through her phone on the couch like always. I had asked a simple question, not out of pressure, just a vulnerable attempt to connect. "Do you want to come to bed with me tonight?" She didn't even look up. Instead, she let out this light sigh, the kind you make when someone asks you to take out the trash during your favorite TV show. Then she said it calmly, emotionlessly, as if reading a headline. "I think once a month is enough." Just like that. No build-up, no warning. She finally looked at me, and I swear there was nothing behind her eyes. No anger, no sadness, just complete apathy, like she was discussing which coffee to buy at the grocery store. I blinked once. "Wait, what?" She leaned back, phone still in her hand. "I mean, intimacy, sex. Once a month is plenty, don't you think?" I stared at her, thinking maybe this was some kind of sarcastic humor that would land differently in a few seconds. But her expression never changed, dead serious. She really meant it. That's when something in me cracked, something I didn't even know how to name. It's hard to explain what that moment feels like unless you've lived it. Your stomach drops, your breath catches somewhere between your chest and throat. Not from fear, but from the stunning realization that the person you love doesn't see you as a man anymore. Your need for connection, affection, desire, all of it just became an inconvenience, a task taking up space on her mental calendar. But here's what Lisa didn't know about me, what she had forgotten during our 5 years of marriage. I'm a senior financial analyst at Blackstone Financial, pulling in $165,000 annually. I built my career on reading people, analyzing patterns, and developing systematic responses to complex problems. I don't react emotionally to crises. I analyze them, find the leverage points, and execute strategic solutions. And in that moment, staring at my wife's indifferent face, my analytical mind kicked into gear. This wasn't just rejection. This was a fundamental shift in our relationship dynamic. She had just told me exactly how little value she placed on our connection. More importantly, she had revealed that she assumed I would simply accept this new reality without consequence. That assumption would prove to be her biggest mistake. I took a slow breath and asked, "Where is this coming from?" She shrugged. "I don't know. It's just how I feel." "How long have you felt like this?" "I don't know. A while." A while. So all those nights she turned away, all those "I'm tired" or "not tonight" responses, she wasn't exhausted or stressed. She just didn't want me. She had decided it was enough to stay married on paper, split bills, share space, but not share each other. And the worst part, she said it like I was supposed to agree. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. But something fundamental shut down inside me that night. Not my love, not yet, but my hope. I realized I could no longer trust her with my vulnerability, my desire, my emotional need to be wanted by my wife. In her eyes, I had become a fixture, something to be tolerated and scheduled, maybe once a month. What Lisa also didn't realize is that I had been documenting our relationship patterns for months. As a financial analyst, I'm naturally systematic about tracking important metrics. I had been noting the frequency of affection, intimacy, meaningful conversations, even simple gestures like goodbye kisses or asking about each other's day. The data showed a clear declining trend that had accelerated dramatically over the past 6 months. I also had resources she didn't know about. A separate savings account with $47,000 that I'd been building for what I thought might be a surprise vacation or down payment on a bigger house. Professional contacts throughout the city, including David Hoffman, a divorce attorney I'd worked with on client financial assessments. A network of colleagues who had seen me successfully navigate complex negotiations and strategic planning. Most importantly, I had learned something crucial about human psychology through my work. People reveal their true priorities through their resource allocation. Time, attention, affection. These are all finite resources. Lisa had just shown me exactly how she was choosing to allocate hers. After that night, things didn't immediately explode. She thought the conversation was over, settled. But for me, it had just begun. I started noticing things I had been unconsciously ignoring. How she smiled at her phone more than she smiled at me. How she never asked about my day unless it related to something she needed. How I could work late for 3 days straight and she wouldn't even comment. But if I forgot to buy her specific brand of yogurt, it became a 20-minute discussion about thoughtfulness. She treated me like a utility service, reliable, expected, but noticed only when not functioning properly, and I had finally read the meter. I began implementing what I call the mirror strategy. Instead of continuing to offer energy she didn't value, I would reflect back exactly what she gave me. If she wanted once-a-month intimacy, she could have once-a-month Mike. The first phase was subtle. I stopped initiating those small daily connections. No more good morning texts during my commute. No more how was your day when I got home. No more suggesting weekend activities or restaurants for dinner. I simply matched her energy level exactly. She noticed by the third day. "You've been quiet lately," she said as I came home and went straight to my home office to review client portfolios. "Just busy with work," I replied calmly. "Everything okay?" I looked up from my laptop. "Everything's fine. Why?" She tilted her head, searching my expression for something, but I gave her nothing, just professional courtesy. The same tone I used with clients who were pleasant but not particularly important to my day. This is when my professional training became crucial. In financial analysis, emotional reactions lead to poor decisions. You document everything, stay objective, and execute your strategy based on data, not feelings. Lisa was about to learn what happens when someone with my skill set decides to treat a personal relationship like a business problem. I started tracking our interactions in a private spreadsheet. Conversation topics, duration, who initiated, physical affection instances, who initiated, evening activities, who suggested. The data was even worse than I expected. In the past month, she had initiated meaningful conversation exactly twice, both times to ask me to handle something for her. Physical affection, including simple touches, 0 instances initiated by her. But the most revealing data point was this. She had been on her phone an average of 3.2 hours per evening while we were in the same room. I was essentially paying half the mortgage and utilities to live with a roommate who found her social media more interesting than the man sitting 6 feet away. Phase 2 of the mirror strategy involved schedule matching. Lisa had established that I deserve scheduling once per month, so I began applying that same frequency to my presence in our relationship. The first weekend, I told her I had client work to catch up on. I packed a small bag and drove to a hotel 40 minutes away. Nothing fancy, just quiet space where I could think clearly. I spent the weekend reading, working out in the hotel gym, and having long dinners alone while reviewing my situation. For the first time in months, I felt peaceful. No cold shoulder in bed, no forced conversation with someone scrolling her phone. No walking on eggshells around moods I couldn't predict or prevent. When I returned Sunday evening, Lisa barely looked up from her laptop. "How was work?" she asked absently. "Productive," I said. "That's good. I ordered Thai food. There are leftovers in the fridge." That was it. No curiosity about my weekend. No comment on my absence. No awareness that her husband had just spent 2 full days away from home for the first time in our marriage. She had been so comfortable with my consistent presence that my absence barely registered. I knew then that she hadn't noticed yet, but she would. The next weekend, I did it again. This time, when she asked where I was going, I kept it vague. "Just need to clear my head." "Okay, drive safe." By the 4th weekend, she started asking more questions. "Are you going somewhere again?" "Yeah." "Where?" "Just away for a bit." Her eyebrows furrowed, but she didn't press. She still thought I was in some kind of mood that would pass. She didn't realize I was conducting a systematic experiment in relationship equity. But then I changed the pattern. I stayed home that weekend, but remained completely disengaged. I didn't sit near her on the couch. I didn't suggest activities. When she tried to show me something on her phone, I gave it a polite glance and returned to my book. I was physically present but emotionally absent, the exact same energy she had been giving me for months. Sunday evening, I announced, "I'll be at the extended stay hotel near my office for the rest of the week." She looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "I rented a place, easier than driving back and forth when I'm working long hours." This wasn't entirely true. Yes, I had rented a furnished apartment, but not for convenience. I needed space to think clearly about my marriage without the constant low-level tension of living with someone who treated my presence as optional. Week after week, I maintained this pattern. Some weekends at the apartment, some at various hotels, occasionally visiting college friends in nearby cities. Lisa tried to ignore it at first, but I could feel her anxiety building. She started texting more, asking where I was, why I was being distant. I never gave complete answers, just enough to let her know I was fine, but not enough to provide the reassurance she was suddenly craving. A month into this new routine, I came home on a Friday evening to find Lisa had made dinner. Not reheated leftovers or takeout, but an actual cooked meal. Chicken, roasted vegetables, wine poured in the good glasses. She had changed clothes, done her hair, even lit candles. "I thought we could have dinner together tonight," she said, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. Like old times. I sat down, complimented the food, made pleasant conversation about work and current events. When she reached for my hand across the table, I let her take it, but I felt nothing. Because I knew this wasn't love or renewed interest. This was anxiety. She could feel me slipping away and was scrambling to maintain control. After dinner, she leaned in and whispered, "Come upstairs with me tonight." I gave her the same polite smile I had given her months earlier when she established our new intimacy schedule. "Not tonight." Her face flickered through confusion, hurt, then disbelief. I stood up, rinsed my plate, and said, "Thanks for dinner. I'll be at the apartment." That was the moment she realized I wasn't just having a phase or working through some temporary stress. I was responding to her new relationship rules with systematic precision. She had set the standard at once per month. I was simply matching her energy with mathematical accuracy. But Lisa still didn't understand who she was dealing with. She didn't realize that in my professional life, I had successfully negotiated million-dollar financial restructures by finding leverage points and applying steady, measured pressure. I had helped clients navigate complex divorces by analyzing asset distribution and strategic positioning. I knew how to identify someone's vulnerabilities and construct scenarios where they had limited options. Most importantly, I understood that the most powerful position in any negotiation is genuine indifference to the outcome. Lisa had spent months training me not to need her emotional validation. Now, I truly didn't. And that absolute freedom was about to become her worst nightmare. The real shift happened when I started getting visible results from my new focus. Without the constant emotional drain of trying to connect with someone who didn't want connection, my work performance improved dramatically. I closed 2 major client acquisitions in a single month, earning a $12,000 bonus in recognition at our quarterly meeting. I used the bonus to upgrade my apartment to a luxury unit with a gym, pool, and downtown views. I bought new clothes, started working out consistently, and began socializing with colleagues I had previously been too emotionally exhausted to spend time with. People noticed. My boss mentioned that I seemed more confident and focused. Female colleagues who had previously treated me as just another married guy started lingering by my desk for longer conversations. I wasn't trying to impress anyone or make Lisa jealous. I was simply becoming the version of myself that existed before 5 years of emotional starvation. Meanwhile, Lisa was starting to panic. I could see it in her increasingly frequent texts, her attempts to schedule talk sessions when I was home for my monthly visits, her sudden interest in my work projects and weekend plans. One evening, she asked directly, "Why are you doing this?" I looked at her calmly and replied, "Doing what?" "This, disappearing, acting like I don't exist." "I'm not," I said. "I'm respecting the boundaries you've established. You said once a month was enough, so here I am, once a month." She stared at me as the words sank in. For the first time, she was hearing her own statement reflected back to her and understanding how it sounded. "That's not what I meant," she said quietly. "What did you mean?" She couldn't answer because we both knew she had meant exactly what she said. She just never expected me to accept it and structure our relationship accordingly. The beauty of the mirror strategy was that it required no cruelty, no arguments, no dramatic confrontations. I was simply giving Lisa exactly what she had requested, a husband who understood that once a month was sufficient engagement. The problem was, she was now experiencing what it felt like to be on the receiving end of that arrangement. She started overcompensating in ways that would have been flattering 6 months earlier, but now just felt manipulative. Suddenly, she was cooking dinner regularly, staying off her phone during our conversations, asking about my day with apparent genuine interest. But I understood the psychology behind these changes. This wasn't renewed love or appreciation. This was loss aversion. She was only valuing my attention now because she could no longer take it for granted. During one of my monthly visits, Lisa tried a different approach. She had prepared an elaborate meal, bought expensive wine, and was wearing a dress I hadn't seen since our anniversary 2 years ago. "I miss us," she said during dinner. "I miss how we used to be." I nodded politely. "I understand. Can we work on fixing this? I know I've been distant, but I want to try." I set down my fork and looked at her directly. "Lisa, 6 months ago, I would have done anything to hear you say that. I begged for exactly this conversation. I suggested counseling, date nights, weekend trips, anything to reconnect with you." She nodded eagerly. I know, I should have listened then." "But you didn't," I continued calmly. "You told me once a month was enough, so I adjusted my expectations accordingly. I learned to live without the daily connection, the spontaneous affection, the feeling of being wanted by my wife." Her eyes filled with tears. "I was wrong. I didn't mean it. The problem is, I don't need it anymore. You trained me very effectively to stop expecting those things from you, and now that I've learned to live without them, I've realized I actually prefer the peace of not needing anything from someone who doesn't naturally want to give it." This was the truth she couldn't argue with. People can't unlearn contentment. I had found genuine happiness in my independence, in friendships with people who enjoyed my company, in work that respected my contributions, in solitude that didn't feel lonely because it wasn't laced with rejection. Lisa began crying, but I didn't feel the familiar urge to comfort her. I had cried plenty of nights alone while she scrolled through her phone 3 feet away. I had felt rejected and unwanted in my own home, while she treated my emotional needs like inconvenient requests. Now she was experiencing a fraction of that isolation, and I was supposed to rush to fix it for her? "I can change," she whispered. "I want to change." "I believe you," I said. "But change doesn't erase the data. For 18 months, you showed me exactly how much priority you place on our relationship. You might be able to modify your behavior temporarily, but I can't unknow what I learned about your actual feelings toward me." The conversation ended with her sobbing at the kitchen table, while I calmly cleaned up dinner and prepared to return to my apartment. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger requires emotional investment. I had moved beyond that into complete emotional detachment. Over the following weeks, Lisa tried everything. She sent long apologetic texts that I acknowledged politely but didn't engage with meaningfully. She suggested counseling, which I declined because I no longer had any interest in fixing our marriage. She even showed up at my office one afternoon, asking my assistant to tell me my wife was there to see me. I came to the lobby and found her standing there with Starbucks and homemade cookies, looking nervous and hopeful. "I thought maybe we could have lunch," she said. "I have meetings this afternoon," I replied professionally. "But thank you for thinking of me." The hurt in her eyes might have moved me a year earlier. Now, it just confirmed that she was finally understanding what it felt like to have your gestures of connection politely but firmly declined. The final conversation happened on a Tuesday evening, almost exactly 6 months after her "once a month is enough" declaration. I had come by the house to collect some additional belongings for my apartment. Lisa was waiting in the living room, composed but defeated. "Are you filing for divorce?" she asked directly. I paused, considering the question seriously. "I'm not filing anything yet. I'm just living separately from someone who told me once a month was sufficient connection." "You know that's not what I meant." "Lisa," I said patiently, "you said exactly what you meant. You looked me in the eyes and told me once a month was plenty. You weren't drunk, you weren't angry, you weren't stressed from some temporary situation. You made a calm, deliberate statement about how much intimacy and connection you wanted from your husband." She started to interrupt, but I continued. "I'm a financial analyst. I deal with data and patterns, not wishful thinking or emotional manipulation. The data from our marriage showed an 18-month decline in affection, conversation, and sexual intimacy. Your once-a-month comment wasn't an anomaly. It was the logical conclusion of a clear trend." "But I want to change that trend," she said desperately. I understand, but I don't. I've learned to live without expecting those things from you, and honestly, it's been the most peaceful 6 months I've had in years. I sleep better, work better, socialize more, and never feel rejected or unwanted because I'm not asking for anything from someone who doesn't want to give it. She collapsed into tears again, but this time I stayed standing, hands in my pockets, observing her distress with professional detachment. I love you, she sobbed. I believe you love the version of me that was always available, always trying to connect, always hoping you'd want me back. But you don't love the inconvenience of my actual emotional needs. The moment I asked for consistent intimacy and daily connection, you rationed me like a subscription service. I picked up my box of books and started toward the door. What do I have to do? She called after me. I turned back one final time. Nothing, Lisa. There's nothing to do. You told me once a month was enough and I believed you. Now I've organized my life around that truth, and I'm happier than I've been in years. So that's it? You're just giving up on us? I shook my head. No, you gave up on us 18 months ago. I just finally got the message. I walked out to my car, loaded my belongings, and drove back to my apartment downtown. For the first time in months, Lisa called me repeatedly that evening. I let every call go to voicemail. 3 months later, Lisa filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. I didn't contest anything. She got the house with its mortgage payments, and I kept my savings and retirement accounts. She also got to experience what it really meant to live with once-a-month connection, except now it was zero connection, which was apparently more than she had bargained for. During our final meeting to sign papers, she looked exhausted and defeated. I never thought you'd actually leave, she said quietly. I know, I replied. That was the problem. Today I live in a downtown condo with city views and no mortgage. I've been promoted to senior analyst with a $190,000 salary. I'm dating a woman named Jennifer, who texts me good morning every day, not because I ask her to, but because she wants to stay connected throughout the day. She initiates conversations about my work, my thoughts, my opinions. She reaches for my hand during movies and suggests weekend trips we plan together. Most importantly, she never treats intimacy like a scheduled maintenance appointment. Lisa remarried last year to someone from her yoga class. I heard through mutual friends that she complains he's too clingy and always wants to talk. Some people never learn the difference between being loved and being accommodated. I learned something valuable from that marriage. When someone shows you exactly how much they value you, believe them the first time. And when someone assumes you'll tolerate being undervalued indefinitely, sometimes the most powerful response is to quietly prove them wrong by building a better life without them. The mirror strategy worked perfectly. I gave Lisa exactly what she asked for, and she discovered she couldn't handle receiving what she had been giving. But by then, I had learned to live without needing anything from her, which turned out to be the greatest gift she ever gave me.